Never use flash when you're taking a picture, because one time I was on the bus and there was this guy that was trying to fit his whole fist in his mouth. Don't ask why, I don't know. But he was getting really close to actually fitting it, so I was like, this guy is crazy, I need to record this. But obviously I didn't want him to see me recording, so I got my phone out and I pretended to take a selfie so he wouldn't be suspicious. But what I didn't know is that my flash was on, so I press record and immediately the light just flashes in this guy's face. And this guy is naturally just kind of crazy looking, you know what I mean? So he quickly turns his head with his eyes wide open and he's like twitching like this. And I'm thinking, this guy's gonna bite me or something. So I panicked and I threw my phone across the bus. And now this is what my phone looks like. I can't even see the time anymore. So I guess that's what I deserve for recording a stranger in public. My bad, bro, but I'm never taking the bus again. This is your warning to not be friends with tall people, because I used to be friends with someone that was like 6'7", and if you have a friend that's really tall, then you know that they will make fun of your height, even if you're not short. Like when I would hang out with him, even though I myself am also above average height, when I was standing next to him, everyone would joke that I was 4'11". Do you know how short 4'11" is? Danny DeVito is 4'11". Also, he would always call me a little munchkin, and I don't know about you, but I am way too insecure to be called that. But the worst part was that sometimes he would use my head as an armrest. And at this point I was like, all right, I can't take this disrespect anymore. I need to do something. And then I had an idea. I'm gonna chop his legs off. I'm just kidding, I didn't do that. But I did seriously think about it. I just don't stand within 10 feet of him anymore. That way, I don't look like an Oompa Loompa. I just can't keep being compared to Danny DeVito. No offense, Mr. DeVito, you seem like a really nice guy. Third wheeling a couple can either be the best experience ever or the worst experience ever, because I used to third wheel my friend and his girlfriend, and it literally felt like I was their child. I loved it. But when they would argue, it was horrible because they would make me get involved. Like my friend forgot their 1-year anniversary, so she got really angry at him. And then they started arguing with each other, so they asked me for my opinion on the situation. And what am I supposed to say? No matter who I agree with, someone is gonna be mad at me. But the worst part was that when they broke up, I literally felt like I was a child going through divorce. Like after the breakup, she would talk trash about him to me, and he would talk trash about her to me. And I was like, you guys know that I'm still friends with both of you, right? Like, stop talking bad about each other. Grow up already. You signed the papers already, all right? The divorce is final. Leave me out of it. No one talks about how crazy it is when the two most unexpected people you know start dating, because there's a foreign exchange student at my school who doesn't speak any English, so we have to use a translating website to talk to him. But the other day, I show up to school and I see this kid holding hands with a very pretty cheerleader. And this girl's from Tennessee, like she has a southern accent and everything. So some of my friends and I go up to the foreign exchange student and we say, what's going on between you two? And he's been in America for about a year now, so we've taught him some slang. So he just kept responding with, W-Riz, W-Riz. When I tell you that I almost shed a tear, I'm not kidding. This man can't even speak English, but he got a girlfriend. I feel like a proud father, man. That's my boy. Why do men not know anything about their friends? Like the other day, a girl asked me this question and I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, well, girls know everything about each other, but guys don't even know the most simple information about their friends. And I was like, that's not true. And she was like, oh yeah? Did you know Brian is adopted? And Brian is my friend that I've known for about like 7 years. Like, that's my homie. So I was like, what? No, he's not. And she was like, yeah, he is. And she was like, how did you not know that information? And I was like, I don't know. We mostly just talk about sports and stuff. But now that I think about it, it does make sense finally why he's 3 shades darker than his parents. But I didn't even know he was adopted. Meanwhile, girls know each other's menstrual cycles and stuff. So I guess she was right. But you know what? Tomorrow, I'm gonna ask Brian what his favorite color is, because that's my homie. Why do moms just not answer you when you ask them a question? Because I've asked my mom before if I could go hang out with friends, and she would literally not respond even though she's 3 feet away. So I would ask her again, and then she would be like, I heard you the first time. Well, then why didn't you respond? Or sometimes I'll ask her a question, and she'll be like, stop, I'm thinking. And I'll look at her phone, and she's literally playing Candy Crush at the same time. Like, you ain't thinking, you're just straight up ignoring me. But the craziest thing was one time, I was choking on a piece of sushi, so I was clapping to try to get her attention, and she literally just kept scrolling on her phone. She did not even move a muscle. And don't get me wrong, I have the best mother in the world, but I don't understand why moms do this. I think they're just tired of us, to be honest. Oh, ask me for advice on how to talk to girls, because my friend did that, and now he's not getting a second date. Because he asked me how to approach this girl that he liked, and I was like, just treat her like she's one of your homies. Sounds like good advice, right? Turns out that's really bad advice, and he took it way too literal, because when we hang out, he would always do this thing where if we were walking by a bush, he would push me into it because he thought it was like the most funny thing ever. And it was, but it's funny because we're close friends. You wouldn't do that to a random stranger, right? Right? Well, he was hanging out with this girl for the first time, so they were still in the stage where you're asking each other what their favorite color is. And they're walking down the street, but he sees a bush coming up, so as she's talking, he just pushes her into it and laughs. Do you know how much of a psychopath he probably looked like to her at that moment? Lucky for him, the girl didn't take it too seriously, and they finished the rest of the date together, but I don't think he's getting a second date. What do you guys think? Is he gonna get one? No, he's not. You know how girls say, we don't wear makeup for men, or we don't dress for men? I can't relate, because the only times I ever try to look good is when I'm going to a place that I know may have a pretty girl. Like I went to the gym today, but I know there's only gonna be sweaty old men there, so I dressed like a bum. But the other day, I was at the airport, I had my Air Forces on, I brushed my hair, I was wearing cologne. I don't wear cologne. So if you see me looking dressed up, just know that I am doing it for the woman. Why do teachers get pregnant so much during school? And it makes going to school so weird because one time I did a teacher that was 8 months pregnant for like half the year. And randomly in the middle of class, she would always scream and she would be like, oh, sorry guys, it's the baby kicking. Like we would literally be reading a book because it was English class and she would be like, but then Romeo, and we would be terrified like, girl, did your water just break? But she could see that we were always petrified when she would scream. So she would try to make jokes and be like, I might pop this baby out right here. No one laughed when she said stuff like that because we were like, yeah, you probably will. But you want to know what the most funny part is? The next year, I had her for a class again. And she was pregnant again! Like, how freaky are you getting during summer break? We need to give teachers more time off so they don't gotta teach a class while they're 13 months pregnant. If you're on a date, never order anything green, because the other night, I was at a restaurant and I saw this pretty girl a couple of tables over, so I was trying to act all nonchalant and mysterious, and to impress her, I decided to order a salad because I was hoping she would be thinking something like, ooh, who is this mysterious healthy hunk of a man? So my salad comes and I start eating it, and all of a sudden, we make eye contact. So I smile at her real big, and what does she do back? She laughs. So I'm thinking, damn, I didn't even have to say anything and she's laughing already? She's definitely feeling me. Turns out that could not have been further from the truth because I was at this restaurant with my friend. So I was telling him how I think this girl likes me because she laughed at me when I smiled. But then he laughs at me too, as if there's a secret that I'm not in on. So I'm like, why are you laughing? And he responds with, how's that salad tasting? And I say, it's not bad, why? Then he says, well, it must have been pretty good since you saved some for later. And I say, okay, what are you talking about? So he tells me to go to the bathroom and smile into the mirror. So I do, and what do I see? A big piece of spinach lodged in between my two front teeth. The girl wasn't laughing because I was funny. She was laughing because I was funny looking. Imagine how dumb I looked trying to be all mysterious with spinach in my teeth. That's not nonchalant. That's hella chalant. So I was too embarrassed to approach her the rest of the night, but hey, at least now I have an excuse to never eat a salad again. Have you ever been talking to someone but you couldn't think of anything to say, so you just started sharing your darkest secrets with them? Yeah, I don't recommend doing that because the other day, I was at dinner with two of my friends, and one of my friends gets a call from his mom saying that he needs to come home right now and watch his little sister. So he left, but me and the other guy didn't get our food yet, so we stayed. But this was a big problem because the friend that left is like the glue guy. He's the one who we're both close with, so me and the other guy have never talked, just us two. So when the glue guy left, it was awkward because me and the other guy didn't know what to talk about. But for some reason, the only things I could think to say were my darkest secrets. So one thing led to another, and I ended up telling him that one time I wore panties to school because I didn't have any clean underwear. Dog, I was planning on taking that to the grave. And he didn't really know how to react because, like I said, we're not that close. And you may ask, well, if you were going to take that secret to the grave, then why are you telling it to us now? I don't know. I'm kind of just at that point now where I'm like, who even cares? You guys don't even care about what I say anyway. You're just gonna comment for me to oil up no matter what I say. Should have just asked him about the weather or something, man. Do not text people in the middle of the night because the other night I was watching a really emotional video talking about how you should appreciate your loyal friends, so it made me think of my friend. So I texted him saying, I love you, bro. And then within like 10 seconds of sending that message, he calls me, but I declined it because I'm not answering a phone call at 3 a.m. But he texts me in all caps saying, please pick up the phone. And I'm like, damn, all I said was I love you, but whatever, I'll pick up the phone. So I do. And he's like, dude, don't do anything you'll regret. I'm here for you. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? Then he says, that text you sent me? And I respond with, yeah, what about it? Then he says, I thought that was you telling me goodbye. So I took a step back and thought about it, and I was like, oh, yeah, now that I think about it, sending a text at 3 a.m. saying I love you does kind of make it look like it's my last day here. So I had to explain to him that I was just in my feels because I was watching a sad video. But this is why I don't stay up past midnight. Everything I do past midnight, I regret. Why do people date someone who cheated on their ex to be with them and then get surprised when they also get cheated on? Like I know someone, let's call him Fred, and Fred liked this girl. And even though this girl was in a relationship with someone else, she would still give Fred attention. That's the first red flag, but eventually she cheated on her boyfriend with Fred and then they started dating. So they're in love for a couple of months, but then Fred finds out that she cheated on him too. He tells me this crying and he's like, I can't believe she cheated on me. Really? I can. But he's super sad, so I have to pretend to be shocked, and I'm like, what? You mean the girl that cheated in her last relationship with you cheated again? Who could have saw this coming? Stevie Wonder could have saw that coming. To be honest, I don't feel bad for him though. He was partially responsible for ruining the other guy's relationship, and he was delusional enough to think that the same thing would have happened to him. Does anyone else ever text someone on one social media app while having a completely different conversation with them at the same time on another app? Like my friend was texting me on iMessage telling me how angry he was with me because I couldn't make it to his birthday party. But then on another app, we were texting about if we think we could land a plane if the pilot passed away. Like he didn't even seem angry in that conversation, but on the other app, he was furious. But this gave me an idea. If your girlfriend or boyfriend is mad at you, just start texting them on a different app. They might not be mad at you anymore. This could actually work. Nobody talks about how having a crush will literally turn you into a detective. Because one time I stalked this girl's social media because I liked her. So I wanted to learn everything about her, and I found her Visco, and about 20 minutes into scrolling through it, I saw one of her posts that had a really niche song on it that not many people know. So after I found this, I posted a story with this song on it as if I actively listened to this band, and she swiped up on it and she was like, oh my gosh, you listen to this band too? I said, yes, girl, this is my favorite band. It's a good thing she didn't pull the name 5 songs card out because I would have been cooked. But anyway, she was like, no way, I love that band too. I didn't think anyone else knew about them. And my response was, are you kidding? I I thought I was the only one who listened to them. So we started talking a lot. But do not try this, because if you build a relationship on a lie, they will find out. Because a couple months later, she was showing me a picture of one of the people in the band, and I was like, who is that? So she started to figure out that I actually have no idea who this band is. So I admitted to her what I did, and she thought it was weird. So don't try it. Don't try it. Why do people say they can't cook? Like, that doesn't even make sense. All you have to do is follow the directions that the recipe calls for. There's literally a movie about a rat being able to cook, but you can't do it. Obviously, if someone were to tell me to make a beef Wellington, I couldn't do it on the spot. But if you give me some directions, I could do it. Like, all you have to do is read. Add 1 cup of flour. Okay, add a cup of flour. How can you not do that? Does saying that you can't cook just mean that you can't, like, count or read? Because if you can read and count as good as, like, a 3-year-old, then there's no reason you shouldn't be able to understand how to add 1 dang cup of flour. Or the only exception I can see for people saying that they can't cook is if they burn their house down cooking. Yeah, you're right. You cannot cook, bro. But for everyone else that says it, do you not know how to cook, or do you just not want to cook? Why do old people have the creepiest love stories? Because I sat next to this man at the airport, and he was really extroverted, so he started talking to me, and eventually he asked me if I have a girlfriend. I said no. Of course. So he started telling me about his past relationships and how he met his first love. But it was insane, because the more I listened, the more I realized, like, this is low-key illegal. He told me that there was this gorgeous girl in his neighborhood that he saw one day, and that she would go for a walk at the same time every day. So he started following her on these walks because he wanted to see where she lived. But it gets worse, because then he told me that he bought binoculars so he could follow her without getting caught. So the more that he talked, I was like, wait, you're a stalker. So I'm thinking, well, that relationship obviously didn't last long. But the craziest part is that I asked him what ended up happening between them two, and he said they were married for 53 years. Is this how all relationships happened back then? Do you and your friend have a crush on the same person? Do not fight them over it. It will end horribly. Me and my friend had a crush on the same girl, so to decide who got to ask her out, we had a competition where our other friends would put pillowcases over our heads so we couldn't see anything, and they put us in the woods by ourselves, and then they left, so we had no idea where they were at, and the competition was whoever ran back to my friend's house first won, but we had no idea how to get there. So I was kind of already freaking out because I was in the woods by myself and I had no idea where to go. But then like 30 minutes into the competition, I started to get really itchy and red, so I was freaking out even more because I was alone and I had no idea what was happening to me. So I started screaming as loud as I could, hoping that anyone would hear me, and my friends did. So they ran over to me, and later I found out that I just had poison ivy, so I was freaking out over nothing. But obviously I lost the competition by default. So the next day, my friend immediately asked this girl out, and it turns out that she liked women the whole time. So I basically got poison ivy for no reason. Now that I think of it, we could have just played rock, paper, scissors to see who got to ask her out. Why do we not do that? Why do females say, I'm just a girl, anytime they do something wrong? Like, I saw a girl post a story where she literally crashed into a fire hydrant, and she made the caption, I'm just a girl, with the puppy eyes emoji. What does that even mean? I thought saying, I'm just a girl was like the response you give when your room is too messy because you have a bunch of clothes on the ground. Not when you almost run over a child on a bicycle. And the most funny part is that she said she didn't get in trouble for it at all. Like, she didn't get a fine or anything. So I just know that when the police arrived and asked her what happened, she said, I'm just a girl. And it worked. They need a cheat code like this for dudes. Ever go to the chiropractor if you get embarrassed easily? Because I've been having back problems lately, so my friend was like, hey, you should try going to the chiropractor. And he gave me the number of the one he goes to, and I was like, I'll give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? Well, I regret saying that because I show up, and this guy is like super friendly, like over friendly. And he tells me to lay down on the table, so I do. And he starts rubbing his elbow on my back real hard, and it's kind of hard to breathe when he does this. By the way, I had Chipotle before I came here, which is an important detail. Because the chiropractor would do this thing where he would be like, okay, take a deep breath, and I would, and then he would tell me to exhale, and he would push on my back really hard. But I was not aware just how much force he was gonna put into my back when he did this. So I exhaled, and he pushed into my back, and I let out the loudest fart ever. It was like the fart was being shot out of a cannon with how aggressive it sounded, but I think I almost blew my shorts off. And the chiropractor chuckled a little bit, but then he was like, oh, don't worry, this happens all the time. But then he starts coughing, and I'm like, damn, did I just gas this guy out with the fumes from my fart? So he finishes adjusting my back, but then he's like, do you want me to adjust your neck too? And I almost said yes, but then I thought about it. I was like, is he just asking this so he can snap my neck for revenge? So I said, no thank you, and I left. But I'm just gonna suffer through the back pain from now on. I'm not going back. Why does everyone think their baby is cute? Like, some babies are just ugly, okay? But everyone says they have the cutest baby ever, when in reality, they look like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. And that's okay! That baby was just in a sack for 9 months. It's not supposed to come out looking fresh with a sick haircut and a dope outfit on. It might be ugly, but you don't gotta lie, because then whenever you say, guys, isn't my baby so cute? You make everyone else feel the need to lie, because they're not gonna be like, hell no, that baby is hideous, even if it is. I'm sure I was an ugly baby too. I wasn't even mewing back then. I'm sure I looked horrible. But we don't gotta lie about it. You think you wanna have a child one day? Well, just know that one time I was sleeping over at my friend's house, and he has a little brother named Jimmy. And it was like 2 a.m., so everyone was asleep, but I was super thirsty, so I went to the kitchen to get some water, and Jimmy's there. And he comes up to me and says, I can't sleep because there's a monster under my bed. Can you check it? And I say, there's a what? And he says, A monster. Dog, I wanted to say, hell no, I ain't checking that because I'm just as terrified as you are, Jimmy. Like, get your parents to do this, bro. I'm scared of monsters too. But I become super brave, so I check under his bed anyway, and I tell him that there's nothing under there, and then I say, do you think you can go to sleep now? And he says, no, because there's a ghost in my closet. What do you mean there's a ghost in your closet? And why can you even see ghosts? So I draw the line there and I'm like, Jimmy, there's no ghost in your closet. The only reason I told him that is because I was too scared to check. But then he asked me if I can stay in the room with him, and he covers his whole body with his blanket so the ghost can't get to him. I'm thinking, man, give me that blanket. I don't want the ghost to get me either. Like, they don't discriminate, but it made me think, how am I gonna do this when I have my own kid? I can't be this brave all the time. I'm not a Ghostbuster. No one talks about how hard it is to pass a class when your teacher is super cool, but sucks at teaching. Because I had a teacher like this, and I remember the day before our final exams, we were supposed to spend the whole class asking her questions we had so we would be prepared for the test. But instead, she just spent the whole class telling us the story about how her husband died in a skydiving accident. Very sorry for your loss. But dog, I'm going to fail history if you don't get it together. Luckily, I ended up passing the class, but I know a bunch of kids who didn't. The worst part was that one time after the whole class did bad on the test, she asked us why we all did so bad, and the whole class basically just started roasting her, saying that it was her fault. It was literally like an intervention. Like, she almost started crying, and I felt bad, but she needed to hear it. Miss Rivero, if you're watching this, I love you, but please, lock in. Never go on your phone in public. It's not safe anymore. Because I was walking out of the grocery store to my car, but I was on my phone, so I wasn't really paying attention. When I got to my car, I tried pulling on the door handle and it wouldn't budge, but I was like, that's weird. I already pressed the unlock button. Why is the door not opening? And after a couple seconds of trying, the window rolls down a little bit and an old lady screams, get away from me, I'll call the cops. It wasn't until that moment that I took a step back, looked at the vehicle and realized, this wasn't my car! This poor old lady thought I was trying to break into her car while she was in it. But the worst part was that she didn't even seem scared of me. Like, she was just warning me. So do I not look capable of being a scary burglar? Like, just imagine me being like, give me all your money! Yeah, I just watched that back. Now I see why she wasn't scared of me. I don't look intimidating at all. How do you compliment the opposite gender without making them think you're flirting? Because the other day, I saw this girl, and she had a sick jacket on. So I said, I like your jacket. And she was really sweet, but she was like, oh, thank you. But I actually have a boyfriend. Okay. And I have a goldfish. Like, are we just naming things that we have or what? Like, I don't think I could have said nice jacket any more platonically than I did, but it still sounded like I was flirting. But the worst part is that now it seems like I was desperate for her and I just got turned down. So how do I make it sound like I'm not flirting? Like, do I just need to be like, girl, that jacket is slaying? Because I've thought about it. And that's like the only way I think I can give a compliment without it sounding flirtatious. What if I just start giving compliments in sign language? Would that work? I'm gonna be like, never teach old people Gen Z phrases because I may have just ruined an old man's life. I was at the dog park and this old man and I started talking and he was telling me about how he used to be a zookeeper before he retired. So he asked me if I wanted to see a picture of him with some animals. So I was like, yeah, of course. Then he showed me a picture of him with the gorillas from the zoo. But for some reason, the gorilla was like really curvy. So when I saw the picture, the first thing I thought of to say was, that thing's got a gap. So I said it, but I did not think about the fact that he probably didn't know what that word meant. So then he asked me, what does gat mean? I panicked because how am I supposed to tell him that I just called the gorilla curvy without it sounding weird? So instead of telling him what gat really means, I just say, it's what you say when someone has a nice smile. And you know what he says? He goes, hey, well then you've got a gat. No! You're not supposed to say it! And this poor guy was really sweet, so I know that he's just going around telling everybody that they have a gat now. What have I done? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Have you ever failed a test so bad that your teacher started asking about your personal life? Because one time, I got a 13% on a Spanish test. Yes, 13%. And my teacher was like, Tyler, can you stay after class today? And I was thinking, oh no, my teacher's probably so angry at me. But instead, she just looked at me as if she was about to break the news to me that a relative just passed away. And she was like, Tyler, is everything okay at home? And I was like, yeah, why? Then she says, well, you've really been struggling lately in class. Dog, that has nothing to do with what's going on at home. I just don't speak Spanish. Me no comprendo Spanish. But it gets even better because then she says, well, you also look really tired in class. Are you getting enough sleep? No! School starts at 7:50 in the morning. Of course I'm not getting enough sleep. She told me she could see the bags under my eyes and then I was like, okay, now you're just roasting me because I always have these. That's just how I look. Trust me, I would love to make an excuse for why I failed, but I just don't speak Spanish. I barely even speak English. Does anyone else have a friend that will answer a FaceTime no matter what they're doing? Because tell me why I just FaceTime my friend and he answered in a suit and tie and he started whispering. So I was like, why are you whispering? And he said, I don't want the judge to hear me. I said, what do you mean you don't want the judge to hear you? He flipped the camera around and this man was literally at court. He was in the middle of jury duty and he answered my FaceTime. So I said, you didn't have to pick up. Why did you answer this? And he was like, oh, I don't know. I was just kind of bored. But the craziest part is that I looked it up and apparently you're not even allowed to have your phone at jury duty. How did he do do this? This guy could be on top of Mount Everest and he would still answer my FaceTime. I don't get it. Why do people have privacy screen protectors? Like, what are you hiding? Because the most annoying thing is when someone's like, oh my gosh, look at this funny video. But then I have to be like, I can't see the damn video because of your stupid screen protector. I asked one of my friends with one why they use it, and they said it's because they don't like people looking at their phone. But dog, I promise you, no one cares what's on your phone. But also, why does it matter if they see what's on there? Like, how freaky are you getting on your phone to be that scared of someone seeing it? That's very suspicious. But the most funny thing about the people that use privacy screen protectors is that they look crazy because it looks like they're always just scrolling on a phone that's not turned on. That's more embarrassing than whatever freaky stuff you're actually looking at on there. How do people take more than a day to respond to text messages? It doesn't make sense because when was the last time you didn't check your phone for over a day? Probably never. Or maybe I'm just chronically online. But anyways, one time someone told me they just don't have the energy to reply. What does that even mean? It takes 1 second. I'm not asking you to run a marathon. I'm just asking for a text back. Like, I remember another time where a girl somehow took 4 days to reply to me. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna match her energy and not reply for a while. Dog, I started shaking after 14 seconds, so I gave in and texted her back. But then after I replied to her, she didn't respond again for 2 days. So I double texted her and I said, I know you're on your phone. Why don't you respond? And within a minute, she responded and said, you're right, I am on my phone. I just don't want to talk to you. Did I cry a little bit? Yeah. But at least she texted me back quickly. I'm so delusional. You know how when you get an Amber Alert, you just ignore it? Well, one time, I got an Amber Alert for a stolen orange Honda in the city I was in. And when I read this notification, I was just sitting in my car in a random parking lot. But then all of a sudden, I look up from my phone, and what do I see? An orange Honda. So I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I just found the person they sent an Amber Alert out for. I'm about to get a key to the city for solving this crime. But no one was in the car, so my plan was to sit and wait until I saw someone get into it and then confront them. Now that I think about it, that was a dumb plan, but that's all I had. So after a couple minutes of waiting, I saw a young woman get into the car. I'm thinking, I definitely didn't expect a car burglar to be a young lady, but I don't stereotype criminals. So I go up to her and I say, excuse me, is this your car? And she's just like, yeah. I'm thinking, this girl's good. She's trying to act all casual to make me think she's innocent, but you can't fool me. So I go, I know you stole this car. And she just laughs. So I say, I'm not joking. I have the Amber Alert right here. And I show it to her, but then she laughs even more. So I say, why are you laughing? And she goes, look at the license plate on the Amber Alert. So I did, and then I looked at her license plate, and it was completely different. So apparently, I just accused a random young lady of stealing a car, and I had to apologize and do the walk of shame back to my vehicle. What was I thinking? I don't solve crimes. I'm not Batman, but it's not my fault. Have you ever seen an orange Honda before? I haven't. And now all of a sudden, there's two in the same city? How does that happen? I mean, I hope they found the person who actually stole the vehicle, though, because I definitely didn't. Situationships need to be abolished. Because every time I hear someone talk about their situationship, it just sounds like a bad rom-com. Like, what do you mean you guys have been in the talking stage for 2 years? Let's be real. If you are not dating by then, you're never gonna be. Then they'll be like, no, we're soulmates. We've already planned our future together. Yet at the same time, they will purposely avoid making eye contact with them when they pass each other at school. But it gets worse because one day they'll be crying, so you have to ask them why they're crying, and then they'll say it's because their situationship is talking to other people. So then you say, well, are you guys dating? And they say no, so then you say, yeah, that's what happens when someone's single. They talk to other people. But then they say, she's not single though. What? Situationships are more confusing than my math class, and I'm almost failing. I genuinely get a headache trying to understand them. You know what a situationship really is? Delusion. Because has anyone ever had a situationship that actually worked out in the long term? No. So that means you should break up with your situationship. Or don't, actually. I don't care. Just stop talking to me about that. Nobody talks about how scary it is to be friends with someone who doesn't have an inside voice, because I have a friend like this. And one time, we were at a restaurant, and a person with crazy hair walks in and sits at a table right next to us. So what does my friend do? He turns to me and he goes, look at that person's hair! They're wearing a wig! Immediately, I'm just thinking, okay, yeah, that was it. We're gonna have to put you down. Because normal people just don't act like that. But anyways, the person with the wig looks at us as if she can't believe what just came out of my friend's mouth. Understandably. But I just pretend that I have to go to the bathroom so I can get out of this awkward conversation. But then it gets even worse, because when I get back from the bathroom, I tell my friend that one of the toilets was clogged. And what does he say? He goes, you clogged the toilet? And a bunch of people just give our table a super weird look. So at this point, I'm like, why do you still have vocal cords? Like, I've heard people on roller coasters scream more quietly than you talk. But the key to being friends with these type of people is just don't take them in public. Let them scream at their house. Believing that everyone who looks at you is flirting with you is the most dangerous delusion you can have. Because the other day, I was at Trader Joe's, and as I went to check out, the cashier asks me how my day's going, so I say it's going good, how about you? But then she starts asking more personal questions like, do you have any plans for the weekend? And I'm like, why are you asking? But by this point, I'm just fully delusional, and I'm thinking, she wants me, bro. So because I thought she liked me, I started asking her questions back, and I said, what are you doing this weekend? Immediately, she just breaks my heart because then she says, oh, I'm going to the movies with my boyfriend. So apparently, she was cheating on me the whole time. I mean, did we meet 5 seconds ago? Yeah. Did I know her full name yet? no, but I thought we were on the same page. But this isn't even the worst thing that's happened from me being delusional, because there was another time where a girl literally just held the door open for me. Like, that's it. So I was like, do I feel some chemistry right now? And I said, oh, thank you. You're so sweet. What's your name? And she goes, sorry, can you not stop in the middle of the doorway? And I look behind me to see that there's an old man in a wheelchair, and that's who she was holding the door open for. I just happened to walk in before him. I don't get it, because I usually think that no one likes me, but at the same time, I think everyone is flirting with me. Why am I so delusional? Everybody talks about how boys and girls cope with breakups very differently, because I knew this couple who broke up, and they said it was mutual. So you wouldn't think either of them would be too sad, but literally, the day after they broke up, I had classes with both of them, so I saw the guy at school, and he cut all his hair off, so I asked him why he did that, and he said he had to because he was joining the military. So I was like, when did you make that decision? And he said, yesterday. Dog, at least give it a couple days. That's not a decision you should make so abruptly. But for the girl, she didn't show up to school for like a week straight after the breakup. But then this one day, I see a new girl in class and I'm thinking, that's weird. I've never seen her before. But then I look at her a little closer and I realize it was the girl from the relationship. I just didn't recognize her because she changed her hair from brown to blonde and she completely changed the way she dressed. This is terrifying because how am I gonna react if I ever get broken up with? Let's be real though, that's never gonna happen because I can't even get in a relationship. Ever fall asleep on your back? Because last night I was laying in bed, but I just could not fall asleep for some reason. And I always fall asleep on my side, but tonight it was super uncomfortable. So I decided to go on my back, and within 5 minutes of doing that, I fell asleep. Sounds great, right? Well, the only issue was that I woke up in the middle of the night, so I was like, oh, might as well go to the bathroom. So I tried to get up, but I couldn't move my body. At first I thought I was just dreaming or something, but then I realized I was fully conscious. And then all of a sudden, I see a dark figure in the corner of my room, and it kept getting closer to me and closer to me. So I was terrified because I couldn't move or run away, but then the dark figure walked out of my eyesight, so I couldn't see it anymore until randomly it pops up right in front of my face. At this point, my heart was racing, but then I started to hear whispering and I was like, where is this coming from? But for some reason, whenever someone whispers in my ear, it makes me super ticklish. So when this happened, I started to wiggle my toes and I realized I could move again, and then I woke up. So I don't know if I was dreaming or if I wasn't, but it felt super real. All I know is that this never happened until the one night I sleep on my back, so I'm never doing that again. Also, I may or may not have wet the bed. Having a friend that's comfortable around you is great until they get a little too comfortable. Because my friend would literally treat my house as if it was his own. And that doesn't sound too bad until I tell you that he would literally open my fridge and start drinking milk straight from the carton. First of all, that's insane. But second of all, my mom would be mad if she saw me doing that. Imagine if she sees you with that milk mustache. But also, some of the other things he would do at my house wasn't even him being comfortable. It was just him being gross. Like one time, we were on the couch watching TV and he was literally like, watch this. And then he farted on my dog. I'm pretty sure that's illegal. And my poor dog just reacted by giving him one of these. But then another time, he spent the night at my house. So in the morning, he asked if he could borrow some clothes from me. And I was like, sure, go ahead. But then he took my underwear. I thought he wanted shorts or a shirt. You don't share underwear. And I just saw him fart on my dog, so I know he's gonna leave skid marks in those. Who raised this man? Why do lawyers keep getting these dangerous criminals out of jail? Like, I just saw a video where a guy threw Molotovs into a liquor store while laughing, and the lawyer was flexing how he got his sentence from 12 years to 10 months of probation. Dog, that is not a flex. Some people are supposed to go to prison. And I understand that this is your job, but go free someone that went to jail for littering or something. Not a real-life supervillain from a comic book. But the most insane part is that this lawyer has kids. How are you comfortable with this man being free in the same streets as your kids? And also, who are these judges giving these sentences? In what world does someone throwing a Molotov fastball deserve 10 months of probation? I'm pretty sure you can get that for jaywalking. That city's gonna turn into Gotham soon. I might never leave my house again. Have you ever had a friend that falls in love with a new person every week? Because one time, a girl transferred to my school, and the moment my friend saw her, he was like, dude, I'm gonna marry her one day. And he was so serious, so I was like, bro, you haven't even talked to her. How do you know you love her? And he was just like, when you know, you know. But the next week, I asked him how it was going with this girl, and he said he moved on from her because he had a new crush on a girl he met at the grocery store. So I was jokingly like, dude, this is not healthy. You need therapy. But then to my surprise, he was like, I already do go to therapy. So I was like, oh, cool. How do you like it? And he said he loved it because he has a crush on his therapist. Now that I think about it, he also said he loved my mom one time, but now I'm wondering if he meant it in a weird way. So if you see this man in public, don't make eye contact with him. He will probably fall in love with you. Have you ever met someone that everybody loved, but you got a bad vibe from? Because I did one time, and it turns out I was right. So there was this new kid at our school, and immediately within the first week of him being there, it seemed like he was already everyone's best friend. But whenever I would see him interact with people, something about it just looked like he was being fake. So I brought this up with my friends, and they had no idea what I was talking about. Like, they loved him too, so at that point I was like, okay, maybe I'm just jealous that everyone likes this kid. Maybe I'm the problem. But as time went on, it felt like he was low-key trying to turn my friends against me. So at that point I was like, okay, I gotta do something about about this. So I started researching him, and I found out that the reason he transferred to our school was because he got kicked out of his old one. You know why? Because he punched a girl. Yes! Sorry, I wasn't doing a fist pump because I was happy a girl got punched. I was doing a fist pump because I was happy that my gut was right. My condolences to the girl. But anyways, if you think someone ever gives off a bad vibe, trust yourself. You're probably right. Have you ever met someone that literally doesn't like the person they're in a relationship with? Because one time I was with my friend and he got a phone call, but when he saw who was calling, he was literally like, "Damn it, dude, no!" And I was like, "Who's calling? Your landlord?" And he was like, "No, it's my girlfriend." Now, I'm not the smartest person ever, but aren't you supposed to like the person you're in a relationship with? And you may say, oh, well, maybe they were just having an argument that day. But there was another time where he was planning his birthday party and he was like, who should I invite? And we were like, maybe invite some of your friends, invite your girlfriend, obviously. But when we said the word girlfriend, he was literally like, like, you clearly do not want to be with her. Why are you together? But then he got mad at me for pointing that out and he was like, you don't get it. You've never been in a relationship. Every relationship has their ups and downs. Dog, your relationship is just one big down. There is no ups. I don't know if I've ever seen either of them smile when they're together. I don't get it. Is anyone else just like obsessed with drama? Because I am, and that's why I've been loving this new show.
This crazy crew, my family, are African royals in Ohio. I do not expect you to be doing shots. We're socially drinking. Yes, I'm choosing. Case closed. Royal Rules of Ohio, May 15th on Freeform and stream on.
I mean, I knew royal families existed, but I didn't think they were in America, and I definitely didn't think there was one in Ohio. If you guys need a new show that's actually unique, I would watch this. So watch Freeform's Royal Rules of Ohio. Stream on Hulu now. You can always tell when someone is an only child because they do not act like everyone else. Because you have to remember that since they didn't have any siblings, they don't have the same trust issues that everyone else has. If you ask someone who's an only child to close their eyes and open their mouth, they'll probably do it, no question. Meanwhile, you couldn't pay me to do that because I remember my brother shoving wasabi in my mouth after he tricked me. But another thing about people who are only childs is they just leave without saying anything. Like if you're hanging out with a group of friends and one of them happens to be an only child, there's a 99% chance that you won't even see them leave. Did they get captured by aliens? Did they get lost in the woods? No one knows because they don't say goodbye. Only children never share the ox. Anything that's theirs, they don't want to share because they didn't have to growing up. This doesn't seem like too big of an issue until your only child friend is playing JoJo Siwa on ox and you start losing your mind. I love people who are only childs though. They're way less needy than everyone else. Can you tell I wasn't one? I just met a Gen Z parent for the first time, and the next generation is doomed. So I was at the DMV, and I sat next to this girl who was getting a new license because hers expired. And she showed me her old one, and I saw that her birthday was the exact same as mine. And as I'm talking to her, I see a little kid run by, and she goes, "Noah, stop running." And I said, "How do you know that kid?" And she was like, "Oh, that's my son." First of all, why aren't you watching him? But second of all, we're the same age and you already have a kid? I'm out here still playing with Legos and you have a kid? But anyways, we started talking about her kid and she told me that when she found out she was pregnant, she was terrified because she was like, what if I don't even like the baby? I mean, that's kind of a crazy thing to say, but I guess it's fair. And then she told me how her son starts school next week and that she's really scared for that to happen too, because what if he asks her for help on his homework? And I was like, what do you mean? If he needs help, just help him. And she said, well, if he goes up to me and says, Mama, how do I solve this math problem? What do I say? I'm not good at math either. And the more she spoke, the more I was like, damn, you're kind of right. I can't do math either. Well, I'm scared to have a kid. Thanks a lot, Noah. Have you ever had a class with your best friend? Because it may sound like fun, but it's actually the worst thing ever because I had a class with mine and one time he shaved his head completely bald and don't ask why, I don't know. But anyways, on that same day, the teacher was really late to class and when she finally arrived, she was crying. And she said, I'm sorry guys, I know you're probably all wondering what's going on. I just got news that my mother passed away. Obviously, that's very tragic news, right? Well, after she told us this, she started crying even more, and I felt really bad for her. But then I looked over at my friend, and he just looked so ridiculous with the light shining off of his bald head that I literally laughed out loud. And the teacher must have thought that I was laughing at her crying, so she kicked me out of class. I didn't deserve to get kicked out of class. It's not my fault my friend looks like Walter White. But I think there's something wrong with me. Every time there's an awkward situation, I laugh. My condolences to my teacher, though. I'm sure your mother was lovely. Never go to Waffle House because I just went for the first time and I was super excited because I've heard a lot about it. So I walk inside, sit down at a table, and the lady serving me goes, what you want? And as I'm telling her my order, I see a rat run across the floor right by my feet. And I let out a little scream because it caught me by surprise. But you want to know what the server said? She goes, don't worry, Jerry don't bite. Jerry? You named the rat? Meaning it's been here before? And also, how do you know he doesn't bite? Just because Jerry hasn't bitten yet doesn't mean he won't in the future. But anyways, I ordered waffles and the service was pretty quick. She brought them out to me right away. And they looked great, so I took my first bite, but something about them just tasted off. Now I never want to be the person that asks for new food, so I just took a couple more bites, but I started to cough and I was like, okay, I can't eat this anymore. And I asked her if she could make me new waffles and she was like, sure, honey. But now I was curious why these tasted the way they did, so I watched her make these new ones. And I figured out why. I saw her go to the waffle maker, open it up, and spray it with Febreze. No, not cooking spray. Febreze! I was eating air freshener! So when I saw her do that, I was like, oh, excuse me, could I just get some eggs and bacon? Actually, I'm not really feeling the waffles anymore. So she made me that, and after bringing my food, she went outside with her coworker, and they just sat on the curb and talked. But they were the only two people working, so there was no one left inside after they left. Well, unless you count Jerry as a worker. But I had to wait like 20 minutes before they came back in to get any refills and to pay my bill. So all in all, it was a pretty sick experience. Am I ever gonna go back for the food? No, but I may go back for the entertainment. That was pretty good. Have you ever had a friend that's both the smartest and dumbest person you know at the same time? Because there's a kid I used to go to school with that goes to Harvard now. But the craziest part is that he never seemed like he was trying in school. But he's going to Harvard, so he's obviously smart, right? Wrong, because this is the same guy who I went to a restaurant with one time, and I asked him what he was going to eat, and he said, I don't know, what are you gonna eat? So I said, oh, I'm gonna get the eggs and bacon. It's really good, you should try it. And he responds by saying, nah, I don't really like fruits. I was like, oh, that's understandable, but wait, what does not liking fruits have to do with getting eggs and bacon? And he said, oh, well, eggs are a fruit, so I wouldn't want to get that. I'm not kidding when I tell you that I stared him in the eyes for 5 seconds before finally saying, oh my gosh, you're actually being serious. The guy that is going to Harvard thought that an egg was a fruit. I don't get it. I'm scared. I'm terrified for the future. This is your warning to not be an instigator because I got 2 kids suspended from school for being one. So there was these kids in my class who had beef with each other because they dated the same girl. And I sat next to the one who was currently dating her. But this was math class and it was super boring. So I decided to instigate. So these kids would just stare at each other with angry looks during class, but it never felt like they were actually gonna do anything. It was like when 2 dogs bark at each other from behind a gate, but then when you open the gate, they stop acting tough. It was like that. But then one day, the kid I sat next to showed up to class really angry and I was like, what's going on? He was like, my girl's ex keeps talking trash about me. And because I was so bored, I was like, oh, this is my shot. So I was like, bro, what are you doing? And he was like, what do you mean? And then I said, you're just gonna let him talk like that? Personally, I wouldn't allow that. And then he was like, should I do something? And then I said, well, only if you love your girlfriend, yeah. So this motivated him and he told the other guy to meet him at lunch to fight. And the other guy agreed because they both still liked the girl. So they fought and the teacher saw and they both ended up getting suspended. And the worst part was it wasn't even a good fight. I feel kind of horrible because this was definitely my fault. So don't do this, guys. Don't do it. Ever go to a fast food restaurant past midnight? Because I just got back from McDonald's. But you might be saying, hey, that's not McDonald's. You're right. And that's because when I went to McDonald's, I tried to walk inside, but the door was locked. I was thinking, that's weird because I've been here at the same time before and they were open. So I walked around the building and looked through the window and I saw about 10 workers not doing anything. So I went back to the door and I knocked on it and a worker opened it and said, sorry, we're not open right now. And I said, can I ask you guys why you're not open? Because you usually are at this time. And he said, we're throwing a quinceañera for one of the workers. What? Who throws a quinceañera at a McDonald's? Listen, I'm not Hispanic, so I might just not be educated on this topic. But do you guys always throw these parties inside fast food restaurants? Like maybe I'm just out of the loop, but I do want to get invited to one day. If you have a quinceañera, hit me up. Nobody talks about how girls have a secret way of communicating. And I found this out because one time I was talking to a girl I liked and I saw that she got a text from someone with the name Apple. So I was like, huh, I wonder who that is. But then a few minutes later, I saw her get another text from someone with the name Strawberry. So because I liked her, I decided to be nosy and I went to this girl's friend and I said, hey, do you know who Apple and Strawberry are? And she was like, Apple and Strawberry can be different people for everyone. So I was like, what does that mean? And she told me that when a girl likes a guy, she will give that guy a code name. And most of the time, this code name will be a fruit. So after I thought about it, I was like, oh, Apple and Strawberry are other guys that she likes. But then I was like, wait, that's not good for me. But the worst part was that one day, I saw her scrolling through her contacts and she had like 18 different fruits in there. Like I didn't even know this many fruits existed. She was talking to so many guys that she had to start coming up with really obscure fruits like pitaya and persimmon. So if you know a girl that has a bunch of fruit names in her contacts, I'm sorry, but it's over. Ever hang out alone with your best friend? Because I used to do that, but then one day someone asked us if we were dating and I was like, no, why would you think that? And they said, well, you do a lot of things that couples do together. And I was like, what? No, we don't. But then I thought about it and I was like, damn, he's right. Like we've gotten massages together. We've gone to movies together. We go to restaurants with just us two. But the biggest reason why I know that people actually think this is because his girlfriend doesn't really like me. And I always wondered why. But now I think I know. I'm pretty sure she thinks we've got something going on between us. Listen, Mia, I don't want your man, okay? I just don't have my own girlfriend to do these things with. don't gotta rub it in my face. Did anyone else's parents ever say, you should be more like your friend, without knowing how crazy that friend actually was? Because one time, my mom and I got into a big argument, so she was like, why can't you be more like Dylan? He's so mature and polite. And when she said that, I tried not to laugh, because little did she know, Dylan was a real life supervillain. And she saw that I was holding back my laugh after she said that, so she was like, what's so funny? And I said, Mom, if you knew what Dylan does, you would not be saying that. So she replied with, well, what does Dylan do then? And I thought about not telling her because I didn't want to expose Dylan, but I was like, nah, I gotta do it. I gotta protect myself. So I told her that during school, when we were in the locker room, Dylan had a spray deodorant that he would use every day, but he also had a lighter. So he would use these two things to spray flames at people while they were changing in the locker room. Everyone would run away from him because he was throwing these flames at everybody. Like if you saw this guy doing that in public, you would run for cover. But yeah, Mom, I can be more like him if that's what you want. I love my mom though, just want to say that. Why do girls only like you when you don't like them back? Because I used to go to school with this girl that I literally did not know existed until one day she walks up to me at lunch and says, hey, can I sit next to you? So I said, sure. But then she started asking me a bunch of questions. So I was like, oh, I see what's going on here. She likes me. But I wanted to make it very clear to her that I wasn't interested in her. So every time she would ask me a question, I would just give her a super boring and dry answer. And I thought this would make her stop wanting to talk to me, but it didn't. Because every day at lunch, she would sit next to me and ask me a bunch of questions. So after a while, I low-key started to like her because she cared about me. So eventually I was like, you know what? I'm gonna ask if she wants to go on a date. So that's what I did. The next day I said, hey, would you ever want to go out sometime? And she was like, just us two? And I was like, yeah. So then she said, are you asking me out on a date? And I said, I think so. And you know what she responded with? She said, oh, that's really sweet, but I'm not interested in you like that. You're too boring. She thought I was boring because, like I said, I used to be super dry when I talked to her because I didn't want her to like me. But that's not how I actually am. I was respectfully rejecting you. And now you're rejecting me? All the pride I had left, which was never a lot, it was gone after that. Have you ever met a friend group where they all secretly don't like each other? Because when I first started going to a new school, I didn't know anyone there, so I was trying to make friends. And there was one kid in my class who invited me to hang out with him and his friend group at lunch. So I did. And they all seemed like they really enjoyed being around each other until I was alone with one of them, whose name was Anthony. And he was like, dude, Ryland's so annoying, isn't he? And I was like, I see what's going on here. This is a test to see if I'm worthy to be in the friend group. So I was like, no, Ryland's cool. But then he was like, no, he's not. None of us like Ryland. And I was like, damn, he's being serious. Poor Ryland. But then I had a class with one of the other people in the friend group whose name was Marcus. And he said, I saw you hanging out with Anthony. And I was like, yeah. And he said, I feel bad for you. So I said, why? And he said, because he's awful. Why do you say that? I asked. And he was like, he snitched on me for cheating on my girlfriend. So I was like, why are any of you guys friends? And he said Anthony's parents are rich and they have a really sick house. So they all secretly despised each other and none of them knew it. But the craziest part was that they were willing to tell strangers about it. That's how much they disliked each other, yet they would still hang out. Can't trust anyone. Why do people give babies such embarrassing names? Like, I think some people forget that these kids are stuck with these names for their whole lives. Because I was at the store the other day and this little kid was trying to climb the shelves and his mom goes, Danger, get down. You named your kid Danger. On purpose. I mean, I guess it's fitting because he's climbing the cereal aisle like a jungle gym, but still, was this like a punishment for him acting up one day? He just misbehaved and the belt wasn't working, so you were like, you know what, Steven? Your name's Danger now. And to the people that have ridiculous names like this, I am not laughing at you. I'm trying to fight for you. Like, these parents do realize that these kids have to go to school, right? And newsflash, little kids are mean. They will get cooked at school. I walked by a group of little kids the other day, and they literally just told me that my jacket sucked and laughed. I was just wearing a plain black jacket. But you think you can name your kid Flick and nothing will happen? This needs to stop. Have you ever met someone that's love language is literally just being mean? Like, the meaner they are, the more they love you. And I didn't know these people existed until I liked this girl one time, but I thought she really didn't like me because every time I would talk to her, she would just be really mean. Like, one time I told her that I liked her outfit, and instead of saying thank you, she literally just said that I'm stupid. So at that point I was like, okay, I get the message. I'll stop bothering you. But then when I did that, she got more angry and she was like, why are you avoiding me? I don't know. Maybe it's because you scare me and you seem like you really don't like me. But she just said that was how she shows affection. So on one hand, I was happy. But on the other hand, I was like, I don't know how much more of your affection I can take, dog. But the scariest part about being friends with these people is that when they're actually angry, you can't tell because that's how they always are. It's almost flattering when they're mean to you though, because it's like, come on, you know you like me. But if you actually say that to them, they might hurt you. They are the most rewarding people to be friends with though, hands down. You know how when you were in school and your teacher was late to class, everyone thought that if they didn't show up within 15 minutes to class, you could leave? Or maybe that was just at my school, but one time this actually happened in my class, but I didn't know this rule was a thing. So after the 15 minutes passed, a kid told me about it, and for some reason, I just completely believed him. No question. So I left because I was really hungry. So I went to go get a snack from the store next to our school, but apparently this rule is completely false because I came back to school for my next class, and all of a sudden, someone walks into our class, whispers into the teacher's ear, and then the teacher goes, Tyler, they need you in the office. So I go to the office, and that is when I received my first and only ever detention. But then the next day, I show up to the class where the teacher was late, and she was acting like it was my fault. She was like, Tyler, I heard you ditched class yesterday. No, I didn't! You did! But yeah, don't try doing that. It's not true. I do not care if I get insulted by a man or a woman, but if I get insulted by a kid, I want to cry because they do not lie. If they insult you, they said it because they truly believe it. Like one time I was at the airport just minding my own business, and this little kid comes up to me and says, "Why do you have a pepperoni on your face?" So I pull my phone out to look at myself on the camera, and I see nothing there. So I'm like, "What do you mean I have a pepperoni on my face?" And he puts his finger on my forehead and goes, "Right here." And I realized that he's talking about a pimple I had. So I laughed and went, "Oh, that's not a pepperoni, it's a pimple." And he goes, "Oh, that's really big." So I'm like, "Yeah, it is." Where are your parents? Because when an older person insults you, you can fight back. But with a little kid, what am I supposed to say? You can't read? Of course he can't read, he's 4! So now anytime a little kid looks in my general direction, this is what I do. I'm just gonna run away from them every time now. I can't take any more ego hits. Whenever you're having a bad day, all you need to do is play the Indian version of Pitbull songs.
Let me talk to them.
The walls in my hotel are so thin that I can hear the person above me making a song. Listen. Hey, yeah, hey. And if I listen really closely, sometimes I can hear them making ad-libs like, I can't cross the street because every time I try pressing the crosswalk button, it just makes this weird noise. Look. I made a promise that I was gonna try fixing my sleep schedule tonight, but now it's 3 a.m. and I just made Dubai chocolate from scratch, so let's try it. This is why I don't cook. My mom just put out a bowl of grapes, but I'm on a diet, so I'm only gonna have one. That's good. You know what? One more can't hurt. One more. One more, right? One more. You know what? Forget it. I just got this fake rock to put my house key in, and then when I shut it, I can hide it in my front yard, and no one will know it's there. Let's go try it. Oh yeah. Now no one's gonna rob my house. If I miss this shot, I have to oil up on camera. Here we go. My mom just burnt dinner, which never happens. So I asked her what went wrong, and she said, "Oh, I was distracted." So I said, "Distracted with what?" But then she pulls out her phone and goes, "I couldn't take the food out of the oven until my Block Blast game was over." But I thought this was a one-time mistake until later that night, I walk into the living room and her favorite TV show is on that she never misses. But she's not even paying attention to the show because she's busy playing Block Blast. Mom, what are you doing?
I'm playing Block Blast.
You're not watching your favorite show?
Nah, I don't care about that right now. I'm playing Block Blast.
The next day, I look outside and she's going for a walk. But all of a sudden, she's got her phone in her hand, so I ask what she's doing. Mom, what's going on? You never take your phone on walks with you. And what was she doing? Playing Block Blast.
I'm playing Block Blast.
Yeah, but even while you're outside?
Yeah, I'm trying to get a new high score.
But this isn't just my mom. I've noticed every time I peek over at someone's phone, it's always Block Blast on it. Everybody is playing this game. Well, I've started playing it more to not feel left out, but now, I can't stop either. When I'm at the gym, I'm playing Block Blast. Doing chores, playing Block Blast. Just doesn't stop. This game is taking over the world. I just got the worst notification anyone could ever get because the most famous hair transplant place in the world just followed me. Are they trying to say I need a hair transplant? To the hair center of Turkey, you can unfollow me because I don't need no transplant anytime soon. Bought a giant piece of chocolate off Temu thinking it would be just one piece, but when I opened it up, I realized it's just a bunch of small pieces. I'm never buying chocolate off Temu again.
5, 6, 7, 8. Dance with me in my backyard, boy. You're looking super fine in your cord.
Trying Five Guys for the first time. Welcome to Five Guys. What would you like to eat? Eat? Wait, is this a restaurant? Yeah. Oh. I just ate 5 eggs before getting on an airplane, so this is about to be a rough flight.
Whoever is farting, don't fart, please. It smells bad.
Did you know McDonald's is giving away free burgers today? Literally all you have to do to get one is hand the employee money, and in exchange, they'll give you a free burger. Did you know grocery stores in London have fruit outside that you can just take for free? See, you can just take one and then walk away. I'm sorry, I thought it was free. Have you and your friend ever been roasting each other, but then one of you brings up something too personal? Because I was beefing with my friend one day, but in a sarcastic way, talking about his forehead size, and he was roasting my inability to talk to women. But after about 3 times going back and forth, he said to me, "Your breath smells so bad that I don't know whether you need a mint or toilet paper." To this day, I still don't really know what that means exactly, but I made sure my breath smells good from that point on. Hey YouTube, I just accepted your cookies, so when are they gonna show up, huh? I'm getting hungry. Wait, what was that? Hold on. Hello?
Are you Tyler Vitelli?
Yeah.
Here's your cookies.
Thank you. Did you know Oreos weren't designed to eat them like this? Because actually what you're supposed to do is take the top off, and scrape the cream, and then use the brown part and dip that in, and then try it. Okay, here we go. You know, an Oreo is an Oreo. I don't even know why I made this stupid video. This gum expires tomorrow, which means I have to eat the whole thing today. So I'm gonna put it all in my mouth and see how big of a bubble I can blow. Let's do this. Okay. Oh, cool. What? Okay. I don't think I can fit the whole thing. Now let's try to blow. Bruh! I don't think it works because it's expired. I just bent my spoon trying to get this ice cream out, but I can't figure out if this means I'm strong because I could literally bend the spoon, or if I'm weak because I couldn't even scoop the ice cream. Does anyone know if it's possible for a dog to be Mexican? Because mine only listens to me when I speak to it in Spanish. Look. Lay down. Lay down. Now let's try Spanish. Po, acostar. Good boy.
There's a ghost in my car that keeps staring at me right now. Look. Did you see that? Look again. What do you want from me?
Today is day 1 of trying to become a model. My mom just got tricked by AI for the first time because she showed me this photo she saw on Facebook and said, look how pretty this town is. But Mom, that's not a real town. Whatever you do, don't squint your eyes and look at this picture. Can I drink a whole matcha in under 5 minutes without throwing it up? Every time I've ever drinking matcha, I can't take more than 1 sip without gagging. But I'm trying to force myself to like matcha, so this is the only way. Let's go. Why did I agree to this? Maybe I should just plug my nose. It's straight grass. You just gotta go. You just gotta go. We got like a fourth of it maybe. Just pretend it's milk from Shrek. Okay, it's getting better. No, it's not. I feel like I'm gonna vomit. I'm gonna vomit. Just do it. Why is it making me start to cry? 2 minutes left. I gotta take the top off. It's so much more scary to look at it this way. I'm getting my dog. I'm gonna have him finish it. No, never mind. That's cheating. Come on, just do it yourself. Just do it. Come on. We can make it. 1 minute left to finish it. No, we can't make it. We can't make it. We're still gonna try. 20 seconds left. I need to take a big gulp. No, I'm done. I'm done. Picture this. You're in school taking a test that you know you're gonna fail. Now imagine being in that moment, but you had superpowers. And more specifically, the power to make people pee their pants on command. I just let my friend borrow my charger, but when I asked for it back, instead of just giving it to me, he asked what percentage my phone was at. So now, I'm dropping his phone 10 stories. I just saw a video saying you can draw a perfect circle if you put your pinky in the middle, and then you put the pen down, and you turn the whiteboard. Come on. Wait, that was close. Let's try again. Okay, I think it's possible, so let's just go a little slower. Nice. Why does it never connect? I'm gonna get this, I don't care. Yeah? This is impossible. Everyone's been telling me to try K-pop Demon Hunters, but I didn't know what that was until I drove by McDonald's today and realized it's a food. I literally have no idea what's gonna be inside it. So we got fries, and then we got Asian chicken nuggets, okay. And then ramen seasoning? Okay, so apparently you put the fries in this bag and then put the ramen seasoning on it and shake it. Put the fries in the bag. I feel like I'm gonna be doing that a lot in my future, actually. And we put the ramen seasoning in. Close the bag and shake it. Alright, let's eat one. Ooh. This is what it looks like. Okay. Wait, that is good. Now I see why everyone loves K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm a stan now too. Nobody is in this airport but me, and I just found a walking escalator, which means there's only one thing for me to do. I've been been on this train for 12 hours and my legs are starting to fall asleep, so I'm gonna do some cardio to wake them up. Why did the train have to swerve while I was running? Hey, can you record the most pretty thing here?
Sure.
Why are you painting the camera away from me, huh? Wait, why are you painting the camera away from me? Does anyone in this bus find me attractive? I do. Okay, I had to get off the bus because that question was meant for the girls, not the boys. Can I catch a gummy that's dropped from 5 stories up? A random man just told me his name was Garrett, but then he asked me to guess what that was short for. So I was like, what can Garrett be short for? Gareth? Guarantee? But then he said this. Okay, wait, so tell me what you said Garrett was short for again?
It's short for cigarette.
That's awesome. Can any Latinas please teach me how to flip a tortilla without burning my hand? Because every time I try to do it, I burn myself. Is there anything better than having a matcha while reading your book about women's rights? I don't think so. Oh, it's disgusting. I'm gonna bark at my dog to see if he gets mad at me. Run! He's a good boy. I just found out the girl I have a crush on is Lebanese. Why does every girl I like always like other girls? Does anyone want to create a handshake for the number 67? It would go like this.
Bro, put belt rate to they behind. The way that switch, I know he died. 6-7.
Holding the 2x speed button with your fingers speeds the video up way faster than locking it into place. And I have proof, watch. Hold the screen down right now to make me start talking in 2x speed. Got it? It feels like I'm talking a lot faster now, right? Okay, now release it and lock the 2x button into place now. Done? Doesn't it feel like I'm talking a lot slower now? Or is that just me? Ran out of mouth tape to sleep with, but I literally cannot fall asleep without it. So this is the closest thing I have left to use. If I should go on a diet, please give me a sign. Well, guess we didn't get a sign. Okay. To the little kid who just called me broke because he saw me wearing a fake watch, I probably make in a week what you make in 7 days. You're the broke one, buddy. Also, who cares if it's fake? It looks cool, okay? Why don't people just skip everywhere instead of walking? Because it's way quicker, but it's also way less tiring than running is. You could just be like... Listen to the sound the lock on this door makes. Now just imagine if someone was trying to break in your house and you had that lock on. It'd be like...
Unlocked.
A man just asked me how to get to the Eiffel Tower, but obviously, it's right there. So I told him to just start walking towards that big pointy thing. And I expected him to do that. But instead, he just went, oh, thank you. And then started walking in the opposite direction. I mean, he'll still get to it, but now he's gonna have to go around the whole world. Today, I will find out which country has the best McDonald's, starting with French McDonald's. My one rule was I can only order things that I've never seen at an American McDonald's. This is called the McExtreme. Let's give it a try. Not bad. It's not better than a Big Mac, but it's not bad. So far, American McDonald's is slightly in the lead, but that might change because next up we have a Croc Micadoo. I have no idea what this is, but I've never seen it before, so let's eat it. The bread is good, but it's not anything crazy. Looks like ham and cheese. I'd still put the American McDonald's slightly ahead. But if there's any way France McDonald's is gonna win this fight, it's because they have donuts. Why do we not have these in American McDonald's? I don't know, but I'm so excited for it. Here we go. Wait. This is like actually a top 3 donut I've ever had. I'm not even joking. I'll be honest, this puts French McDonald's in the lead. As the French people would say, Jean m'appelle. If I rip this 10 euros, then now it's worth 20 euros. And if you don't believe me, watch this.
Okay, your total is 1803.
Here you go.
Wait, what is this? Just get out of my store, man.
I just bought a Nito because I thought it was a giant gummy candy. But now that I have it, it doesn't really smell like one. But let's try it anyway. Oh, that's tough. Let's try it with my canines. There we go. It's not that good. I'll give it like a 2 out of 10. This creepy man has been following me for the past 10 minutes, so I'm gonna run away from him in 3, 2, 1. Wait, so you weren't following me?
No, I was just gonna say you got some toilet paper stuck to your shoe.
Oh, thank you so much. I've been stuck on this escalator for 2 hours because it stopped moving right before I got to the end. And now I really have to pee, so can someone help me, please? Oh, apparently Nutella is supposed to be put on food and not just eaten straight out of the tub. I thought you were just supposed to eat it like a tub of ice cream. I'm still gonna do that though. I just got my first prostate exam, and I never want to see that doctor again. So I filled my car with apples to make sure the doctor stays away. Please, Dr. Roberts, stay away.
কি হয়েছে বলতো? আর বলিস না, তোরে যে বুকিং দিছে সে তো এখন আমার পিছনে লাগছে।
দিশান আমার দরজা লাগিয়ে দিতে আমার দরজা লাগিয়ে দিতে কই যায় কই যা
আমরা তো বিয়েই দিয়ে দিবে বাসা থেকে।
মাম্মা লাভ স্টোরি তো শুরু করে দিলা ভালো 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 মালটারে কি পড়ানো যায়
তুই একটা কাম কর আজকে থেকে আমি তোমার তুমি আমার ব্যাস ডিসিশন ফাইনাল বুকিং দিয়ে রাখলাম ঠিক আছে কি খবর তোমাদের কেমন আছো তোমরা সবাই ভালো তো না তুমি জানো তোমায় কালকে একটা খবর বলছি
হ্যালো, আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম
কি রে হৃদয় রহিন মানা করতেছি কিছু মানে কিছু ভাবি আপনি জানেন আমি একবার অসুস্থ হয়ে গেছিলাম ও আমাকে রক্ত দেয়নি আর আজকে আপনাকে রক্ত দিয়ে চিঠি লিখছে
ফোন দিয়ে যেতেছি তুমি ফোনই ধরো না তোমার ফোন ধরার কোনো নামই নাই কোনো কথা তোমার ফোন ধরো না কেন
এবারে এক্সামের প্রিপারেশন কি রকম তোদের? আমি তো খুবই এক্সাইটেড কারণ আমার প্রিপারেশন খুবই ভালো।
দিশান দরজা খোল
সুন্দর মতো যাবি ভাবির নামটা জিজ্ঞাসি আর শোন ভালো মতো কথা কবি ভাবি লাগে খালি ফাপড় আর চাপাবাজি এই বাদে আর কিছু পারছোস বুকিং মানে বুকিং তুমি আমার আমি তোমার বুকিং দিয়ে দিছি ফাইনাল
আমাকে বুকিং দিছে মানে আমাকে কে বুকিং দিছে দোস্ত?
তোর যে আশিক আছে না এখন তো ও আমার পিছনে লাগছে।
এই এই দুলাভাই সামনে থাকলে যে সালাম দিতে হয় আপনি শিখাই নাই তোরা কেমন আছো তুমি
ভালো।
আমাকে জিজ্ঞেস করবো না
রক্তটা দিবি তুই
আমি কেন রক্ত দেবো প্রেম খরচ তুই রক্ত
আমার বন্ধু দিশান আপনাকে অনেক ভালোবাসে ভাবি আপনার ওর রক্ত যাওয়াটা বিধে হতে দিবেন না ভাবি
তুমি পড়ো, ঘুমাও তাহলে। গুড নাইট আর বাই।
সহজে কোনো কিছু পাওয়ার মজা নাই, কিন্তু আমগোর দোস্ত জিসান কি কম। ও ভাবি লাগে বেটা, লজ্জা লাগে না?
কি ওর কথা বাদ দে।
তুই যা জামুই তো।
তুই চুপ থাক।
আমি তো আপনাকে চিনি না।
চিনো না যে আজকে চিনলা, আরো চিনবা, আস্তে আস্তে চিনবা। আর শুনো,
আরে বেঞ্চ সাহেব, নতুন নতুন সম্বন্ধ তো তাই চিনতে পারেন নাই। ওই যে আপনার বান্ধবী তুলি আছে না?
আমার তো তাহলে বিশাল বিপদ। আমি তাহলে কোচিং এ কেমনে যাব, পড়াশোনা কিভাবে করবো? আমার তো ভয় লাগতেছে।
কি খবর?
আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম। কি খবর? 3 2 1। আর আজকে রাত 10টা, হ্যাঁ?
রক্তজ্ঞান।
ইতিহাস লিখবো, ভালোবাসার ইতিহাস।
ভালো আছি, আপনি ভালো আছেন?
আমি তো ভালো আছি। তো তোমার বোন কোথায়?
আচ্ছা একটা মিনিট, আমি কল দিচ্ছি। এক রাতে ভালো হয়ে গেল, এটা আমার বিশ্বাস করতে হবে? দোস্ত আমার না ভয় লাগতেছে।
এই কি করবি? চেনা চেহারা না হলো কি চেহারা, কথা তো বেশি চেহারা ওরকম বেশি।
আপনি না শুই না না দেখা সব জানা ফেলছেন বাবা।